All right, so in this video, I want to talk about what you got to do to master a low drawback. Okay, so if you want to hit low to high, you can either do a low bow and arrow, like let's say Taylor Crabb or Miles Partain, or you can do more of a circular where your palms down when you draw back. So a low bow and arrow will be palm out when you draw back, and your hands on the side of your face here, not above. It's like here. Okay, if you want to do circular, when you draw back, your palms down. Okay, but regardless, there's a couple things you got to understand about how to do this, because one of the things that I've noticed in all the people that I teach is that everybody's been taught to go from here to fling your arms way up high to help you jump high. Okay, the problem is this: if you jump 30 inches off the sand, you might have enough time to get your arms up here and then pull them way back here and then go back up and hit. Okay, that's not, you can see, right, from here I got to go all the way back here and then go back, right? That's hard, and if you're not in the air a long time, you ain't gonna do it. Okay, so there's some things that you got to understand on how to do it and how to make it work for you if you're not as big of a jumper. Okay, so one thing you got to focus on is, no matter what, if you're going to do a low drawback, when you get to here, your elbow has to fold big time on your hitting arm. Okay, your non-hitting arm doesn't have to fold, but your hitting arm has to fold quickly. Because if you look at, if I do a low bow and arrow and I draw back like this, my elbow is max bent, like I'm squeezing right here. Okay, so boom, squeezing, and I'm pulling right here. See how close I am to my face? See how low my drawback is? Yeah, so the more you pinch your elbow joint, the lower your drawback is going to be. If I'm going to do a circular drawback where my palm is down, same thing. Boom, pull. See, I'm pinching this. This allows me to stay tight. You want your drawback to be very tight when you're doing a low to high attack. Okay, so on the low bow and arrow, what you want to think about is, boom, back of my hand close to my cheek. Okay, when you're doing a circular drawback, you want to go boom, touch my thumb to my shoulder. Okay, so boom, touch my thumb to my shoulder and then hit. Okay, if I'm going to do low bow and arrow, it's boom, hand, back of the hand close to my cheek and then hit. Okay, now again, what I'm saying is, when you max jump, when you come to, let me step back a little bit so you can see, as soon as you get to here, you see where your upper arm aligns with your body, your elbow has to fold and you got to pull back. If you let your arms get out here before you start pulling back, what's going to happen is the momentum of your arm swinging is going to go up over your head. It's going to be hard to do a low drawback. Okay, now the other thing that you got to think about is understanding that when you're doing a low drawback, when you get to here, you see how my left hand is way in front of my right hand? Yeah, that's key. If both hands are way out here like this, you're done. It's really hard unless you have a super high vertical. Okay, so as soon as you get to here, you got to create separation between the hands. You see that? So I'm coming to here. Once I get to here, I got to create separation. You see how my left hand's way in front, my right hand's not going anywhere. So I want to feel like my right hand never gets in front of my body as a right-handed hitter. When I come in here, boom. Okay, now here's the trick. If you're not a big jumper, okay? If you're not a big jumper, but you still want to use like a circular or a low to high attack, it's possible. Okay, the difference is this: the big jumpers can leave the ground and be here, and leave the ground and have enough time to pull and hit in the air. If you're not a big jumper, when you leave the ground, you got to be here. If you leave the ground here in the air, all your hand has to do is this. Okay, and I see a lot of videos on Instagram or YouTube of people that have figured out how to do this, and they're not big jumpers, but it gives them the ability to still do a circular arm swing, so they have more power and more overspin. Okay, so this is tricky. right? This is not an easy thing because everybody's used to throwing their arms way forward. Like you got to practice, right? From here, boom. You see how my hand, watch my right hand. It never goes in front of my body, watch it. Right? So if I can get to here, if I'm leaving the ground here, if I go and I'm leaving the ground here, in the air, all I got to do is this. So no matter how small my jump is, I'm sure I can hit the ball from here to here by the time I reach the top of my jump. Okay? So start messing with these things. Start messing with these things. What I do as a trigger is I'll put like a wrist sweatband, you know, like a wrist sweatband that you see in tennis. I'll put it on the elbow, okay? And I'll tell my players, okay, once you get here, you got to squeeze that thing right in your elbow joint. You got to squeeze it. And you want to keep your hand close to your face. Like I said, if you're doing a circular drawback, your palm is down, your thumb wants to touch your elbow. That way, your elbow's at max bend and your drawback will be low and tight, okay? And if you're going to do a low bow and arrow, when you jump, boom, right here, hand right next to your cheek. Right? If you look at Miles Partain pulls like he almost looks like he hits his face every time he pulls back. He's so tight, okay? The tighter your drawback, the more powerful your hit's going to be. The wider your drawback, the more flicky your hit's going to be. Less control, less power, okay? So try to work on this. See if you can make any headway. And if you have any questions, you can post them in the comments.